You are about to hear the voice of a man the world was never meant to hear. His name is Muhammad Masad. He was born in the West Bank, raised in a culture of hatred, trained by FATAH terrorists to kill Jews. As a teenager, he was preparing for attacks, planning kidnappings, and meeting with some of the most notorious terrorists in modern history. He believed every lie he was told. He believed violence was holy. He believed killing Jews was his mission. But something happened. Something that shattered the lies. You will hear these words in English, although the interview is in Hebrew. Every sentence, every story comes directly from Muhammad Masad himself. Keep listening, because what you're about to hear is not just a confession. It's a warning, a plea, and a vision for peace from a man who has walked on both sides of the battlefield. Muhammad Masad says, "They lied to us. One of them even called me and said, 'Be careful, stay quiet, be a good boy.' Our goal is not peace. Our goal is to control the entire world." That's how it began. I grew up in the village of Burkine, near Jenin. From my first days in school, everything around me taught hatred. Hatred of Israel, hatred of Jews, hatred of peace. Our heroes were not builders or scientists. They were martyrs, people who blew themselves up. In our culture, you weren't raised to live for something. You were raised to die for something. I joined the FATAH terror unit, the Black Panther Cell. This was the armed wing of FATAH in the West Bank during the 1990s. We were young, we were angry, and we were told we were fighting for freedom. We met senior terrorists, including the infamous bomb maker known as the Engineer. He was a legend to us. He spoke to us about joint operations between FATAH and Hamas, attacks that would kill Israelis, civilians, and soldiers alike. But even in the middle of all that hate, there was something I could never forget. I was 7 years old, hungry, alone. An Israeli soldier, a young woman, saw me. She smiled at me, she hugged me, and she gave me chocolate. At 7 years old, I was taught that Jews were monsters who wanted us dead. But this soldier, she treated me like I was her little brother. Years later, at 15, I was planning how to kill Jews. But somewhere inside, I kept asking, how could I kill the same kind of person who once gave me kindness when no one else did? They told us that the Oslo Accords were for peace, but it was the biggest lie in the modern history. The Oslo Accords, signed in the 1990s, were supposed to end the conflict. They brought Yasser Arafat and the Palestinian leadership back from exile. They gave them territory, money, and legitimacy. But what did they actually bring? Weapons, militias, and the perfect cover to continue the war. If Oslo never happened, Masad says, there wouldn't be convoys of weapons, containers of explosives. They came to keep the war going, not to end it. Money flowed in from the world and went straight into building the next wave of terror. Masad continues, I am a Muslim. I will always be a Muslim. But here is the truth. The Jews are my brothers in faith and my cousins in blood. We were both the children of Abraham. We are meant to live together, not die together. If I want to be a complete Muslim, I must respect all holy books. The Torah, the Bible, the Quran, all of them come from God. I used to see Israel as occupied Muslim land. I don't believe that anymore. That was a lie, a distortion of Islam, a weaponized beliefs used to keep us in a permanent war. The real enemy of peace is not Israel. It's the Palestinian Authority. Terrorists in suits, corrupt leaders who live like kings while their people suffer. They silence moderate voices like mine. They use the power of Israeli security agencies to crush anyone who challenges them. The Arab moderates are the majority, but we are afraid. Afraid of Hamas, afraid of the PA, afraid of being killed, tortured, or disappeared. And so the extremists, the minority, rule us through fear. Let me be clear, 75% of Gaza supported what happened on October 7th. They celebrated the massacre. They raised their children to praise death. These people cannot be part of peace. They must go. Send them to Sinai. Let them unlearn the poison. Even in the West Bank, at least 50% support terror. And among Israeli Arabs, 1 in 4 still dream of driving Jews into the sea. This is not racism. This is survival. You cannot make peace with those who celebrate genocide. My goal now? To help rebuild the Beit HaMikdash, the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, a house of prayer for all nations, a place where Jews, Muslims, and Christians can come together under one God. It is written in the Quran that in the end, God will gather the Jewish people from all corners of the earth. He will purify them, and He will give them righteous leadership. When that day comes, we, their Arab cousins, will stand with them. We will say, lead with justice, rule with truth, and we will follow. I am not the minority. The truth is not the minority. The moderate Arab is the majority, but we have been silenced. Truth is the majority, even when it stands alone. I am Muhammad Masad, once a terrorist, now a servant of peace, and I will never stop telling the truth. Some people will hear my words and call me a traitor. Others will call me naive. Some will say I've been brainwashed by Israel. But I ask you this, who is truly brainwashed? The man who sees his enemy as human? Or the man who would rather kill a child than share a piece of land? I've seen both worlds. I've been the boy in the street throwing stones. I've been the young man plotting to kidnap a soldier. I've sat in the meetings where they planned the next wave of blood. And I've also sat across the table from an Israeli who should have hated me, but didn't. That is why I know hatred is a choice, and so is peace. Ask yourself, what future do you want for your children? A future of checkpoints and funerals, or a future of trade, education, and safety? Because both futures are possible, and the choice begins in the mind, long before it begins in politics. I'm not asking anyone to forget history. I'm asking you to learn from it. For over 70 years, we have tried war, we have tried revenge, we have tried hatred. What has it brought us? Poverty, graves, and a generation that doesn't even know what peace looks like. But imagine, just imagine, if Jews and Arabs stood together in truth. Imagine if we saw each other not as enemies, but as partners. Imagine Jerusalem not as a city divided by walls and fear, but as the beating heart of peace for the entire world. This is not a dream, it is a choice. It is hard, it is dangerous, but it is worth everything. I am Muhammad Masad. I once believed lies. I now stand for truth. And I will keep speaking until my last breath, because the day will come when the children of Abraham stand side by side, and no one will remember a time when we called each other enemies.